on to main email number 2. And this email comes to us from Will in Salt Lake City. And Will says, "Hey, Mike." Hey, Will. Did you see that? Did you see that reports are coming out that no one at Marvel, including Kevin Feige, knew about Chadwick Boseman's condition? I guess he kept things quiet for insurance reasons. Maybe I'm not entirely sure. So, what are your thoughts about where Marvel is at, given this new bit of information? Thanks, and have a great day. Well, thank you, and you have a great day as well, Will. Yeah. So, again, like there was a whole bunch of news that dropped today. This particular article is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, and they are reporting that Disney grapples with how to proceed on Black Panther without Chadwick Boseman. I mean, this is the question on everyone's mind. We made this question a main topic on the show yesterday. How does Disney, how does Marvel, the MCU, how do they move forward without Chadwick Boseman? What was interesting, the most interesting thing about this article is that they point out there were only a handful, and by a handful, I mean like 3 or 4 people in Chadwick Boseman's life that was not family that knew about his condition. I think his agent knew. The article points out that the director of the movie 42 knew. And I think like 1 or 2 other people knew. Kevin Feige didn't know. Nobody at Marvel knew. Nobody at Disney knew. I think had they known, like the article continues to go through and talk about, in order to ensure, because movie studios need to get insurance for the actors in case the actor gets hurt or injured or maimed or whatever, if the production needs to, be halted. Perfect scenario. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. There was an incident with Harrison Ford where he was on set, and I guess one of the doors for the Millennium Falcon closed on its own, or like in a way that wasn't supposed to happen, and it hit Harrison Ford. I think he injured his leg or his foot, something like that. It was a few years ago, and those scenes had to be paused. They had to all be put on hold for Harrison Ford to recover and get back to work. Same thing, Mission Impossible 6. There was a scene where Tom Cruise was running across the top of one building. He had to jump to another building, and when he landed, he snapped his foot. They kept that scene. They kept the foot snapping moment in the film. You can actually see it in the movie. If you don't know it's there, you wouldn't stop to think about it. It doesn't look crazy. But then, Tom Cruise gets to the top of the roof and hobbles away off camera, and he hustled, he committed to it, but then after he started limping, everyone's like, "Oh, that was a great acting choice, good for you, Tom Cruise." And he's like, no, something seriously bad happened to my foot. Turns out, yeah, he snapped his ankle in half, and production on Mission Impossible 6 had to get shut down for a few weeks for his ankle to heal. So accidents do happen on movie sets. Movie studios need to get their actors insured in order to, put them in the movies, especially if they're big stars. Like, that's why stuntmen exist. That's why it's absolutely crazy and insane for Tom Cruise to do his own stunts. Had Disney known that Chadwick Boseman had stage 3 or stage 4? I think it was stage 3 colon cancer. Maybe it was stage 4. I honestly, I don't remember. Had they known that he had colon cancer, there's a very good chance the insurance company would not have insured the actor, and they would have had to recast. There's a very good chance of that. So it's possible that Chadwick Boseman played it close to the chest in that regard, so that he could get the role, so he could play the part. That is a possibility. From everything that I've read, from everything that I've heard about Chadwick Boseman, he was a very stand-up guy. He was kind, he was thoughtful, and he tried to make the best impact that he could make. It is my personal opinion. I have no insider knowledge in this regard. It is my personal opinion that Chadwick Boseman kept that silent because it was nobody else's business. It was his business and his wife's business and his family's business. Doesn't concern anyone else. And again, the article goes on to say that up until a week before he died, a very close, it might have been a family member and it may have been a friend of the family. I can't remember. I'll have to go back and read the article. The article's on the Hollywood Reporter. Just look up, Hollywood Reporter, Disney grapples with how to proceed with Black Panther without Chadwick Boseman. That's the article. Either a very close family friend or a member of the family themselves, it was their belief that, okay, yeah, Chadwick Boseman isn't doing great right now, but let me back this up. Let me add a little bit of context here in my understanding of how this person's thought process went. 2 years ago, my father died of cancer. Public knowledge, everybody knows this. Well, not everybody, but now you know. My father died of cancer 2 years ago. Before he died, my dad, he lived with cancer for 4 years, or he diagnosed for 4 years before he died. And his health would swing from one side to the other. Sometimes he was really in a bad state and he was in the hospital and things were looking grim. And then he would make a recovery. Not a full recovery. I mean, he had cancer. But he would be back up on his feet. He was out of the hospital. He would be out of the hospital for months. And everything seemed okay. It seemed like, okay, cool, you might actually have a chance of beating this thing. And then his health would decline and he'd go back in the hospital. And so there was a swinging pendulum back and forth. And every time that it got bleak, he always made like a really great recovery. I don't know if that was Chadwick Boseman's experience. I have no idea. There haven't been any reports on that. People aren't talking in that regard. All I know is what this article was talking about, in that there was a close family member or a close family friend that said, up until a week before Chadwick Boseman died, it really seemed like he was going to make a really great recovery, that he had a really great chance, a really great shot at beating cancer, at beating this form of colon cancer. And he was planning on returning to the role as Black Panther in Black Panther 2. He was planning on it. It sounds like his family was planning on it, and the studio was definitely planning on it because they didn't know. So again, how is Disney going to move forward in this? They've only heard the news since Saturday. Disney's only been made aware of this news since Saturday. So they still have some things to figure out. In fact, filming for Black Panther 2 was supposed to start next month. I mean, with all the delays and coronavirus and everything else, I'm sure it got pushed back a little bit. But originally, filming for Black Panther 2 was supposed to start next month. So there's a very good chance, in my opinion, the script was completed. They already, got Ryan Coogler back to direct. And this was months ago. This was before coronavirus. They already signed him to come back. That was a done deal. Ryan Coogler was coming back to direct Black Panther 2. Now, all these months later, they're supposed to start filming in September. I bet you they were already in pre-production. They were probably starting to do a lot of pre-production, figure out the schedule, figure out pay, figure out where to build the sets and who is going to build the sets, casting, that kind of stuff. And then this news drops. So it's an interesting question, especially on yesterday's show. We talked about how Shuri, the character of Shuri, there's a good possibility that they're going to pass the mantle to her. I know a lot of fans would be incredibly upset if they were to recast. But I also make the argument, if you cast an actor, and I'm just pulling these names out of the air, of like Idris Elba, he is, A, he's an acclaimed actor. B, he's a great actor. I think he's an Academy Award nominee. He hasn't won, but I believe he's a nominee. Definitely for a Golden Globe, at least. And people love him. People love Idris Elba. Now, again, I'm just pulling these names out of the air. Idris Elba is too old to play the role of Black Panther. But if they get someone in that vein, of that status, of that likability, of that charm, who is an incredible actor in their own right, I think you could recast Black Panther in that role. So it all depends. And like, are they going to get someone that the fans are going to back? Because if they get someone that the fans aren't going to back, that could really hurt the film a lot. Or my solution, get someone of like an Idris Elba status, cast him as the new Black Panther, but then in the early stages of the film, have Black Panther pass the mantle of Black Panther down to Shuri. You know what? After the event, after Endgame, after the events of Endgame, I'm done. I don't need to do this anymore. I just want to rule Wakanda, be the king, and be as benevolent as I can be. I don't have time to be Black Panther. Shuri, you're the most brilliant mind on planet Earth. You created the Black Panther costume or armor. It's time for you to become Black Panther. Those are my thoughts. I am honestly, I'm sure Disney does not know what to do right now. They're stuck between a rock and a hard spot, and they were not made privy to this conversation. They didn't know that this situation was imminent. So Disney is really going to have to scramble quickly to figure out what they're going to do. I mean, obviously Black Panther 2 is going to be delayed. It is going to be delayed much further than we ever thought. At least until 2022. At least. They have to rewrite the script because, like I said, they were getting ready to film in September. So anyway, guys, do you have a different thought? Do you think that it was unfair for the Bosemans to put Disney and Marvel and MCU, Kevin Feige, into this situation? Or do you think they are completely valid in just saying, this is our business. This does not concern anyone else? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say about that.